in the world is not informed and shaped to the extent it can and should be by Scripture's teaching on our adoption by God. Our prayer is that this book will contribute to changing all that for God's glory and our good. Our prodigal race. Few stories have the ability to pierce us as deeply as Jesus' parable of the prodigal son from Luke chapter 15, verses 11 through 32. I suggest you read the passage now, unless you are already very familiar with it. In recent years, Tim Keller's teaching on this parable has served the church well by rightly focusing our attention on the father and his relationship not merely with the younger son, but also with the older son. As Jesus makes clear at the start, this parable is about both sons, and both are estranged from their father. The younger son manifests his estrangement by breaking the rules, and the older son manifests his by keeping them. The older son may have been on mission with the father externally, doing what he was supposed to do, but he certainly wasn't on mission with him internally. His heart was not aligned missionally with the heart of the Father. Once it became clear to him that the Father dealt with his sons according to grace and not according to merit, his emotional capital and missional commitment evaporated. No longer was he capable of serving the Father, nor did he have any interest in aligning himself with the Father's agenda of welcoming home lost sons. Thus, both sons are prodigals, neither one living in loving communion with the Father. Deep underneath the differing externals of these two sons' behaviors is the fact that both were, quote, sons of disobedience and children of wrath, Ephesians 2 and 3. But the beauty and wonder of the parable of the prodigal sons is that it puts the Father's love on display. A love that embraces the younger son with uninhibited joy, Luke 15:20, and goes out to entreat the older to come join the celebration, verse 28. In both cases, the Father comes to the rebels to bring them into his joy, his home. The Father loves prodigals. We are the prodigals whom Jesus, the true and eternal Son, came to bring home. Some of us are more like the younger brother and some like the older. Look closely enough, however, and most of us from time to time can resemble either one. All of us were created in the image of God so that we could participate in the communion of love between the Father and the Son, as we will explore at various points in this book. But we were cut off from that communion because of our sin and rebellion. We became an entire prodigal race, sons of disobedience and children of wrath. As a result, all of us have what C.S. Lewis calls a, quote, longing to be reunited with something in the universe from which we now feel cut off, to be on the inside of some door which we have always only seen from the outside, unquote. The door that seems so impenetrable is the eternal communion of love between the Father and the Son. The story of the Bible is that God the Father sent his only true and eternal Son on a mission, and that mission was to bring many wayward and rebellious sons home to glory, Hebrews 2:10. That is the story behind the story of the prodigal sons. That is the only story that gives our stories any meaning or significance. The story of adoption. If we consider the parable of the prodigal sons within the larger context of Scripture, we find that it is really the story of adoption. The adoption of humanity as a prodigal race, Genesis 3:6. Maybe you're thinking, Jesus' parable in Luke 15 can't be about adoption. The two brothers were already the father's sons. They were just estranged. Adoption is for orphans, not sons. That would be a reasonable response, but a misguided one, because the logic starts from human adoption. It takes adoption as we understand it horizontally and tries to force the definition of vertical adoption into the same mold. Yes, the Apostle Paul borrowed the term adoption